Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of It Starts with Action. Bear in mind I have a very long intro. Today I'm so grateful to have Jordan Paris, a 22-year-old author, podcast host and entrepreneur featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Men's Health, Yahoo Finance and Market Watch. He has an amazing podcast, Growth Mindset University, ranked 6th in Apple's self-improvement category, 3rd in the training category, 5 in the how-tos category and 15th in the education category, and is also ranked highly in 40 plus countries worldwide. And it's so cool that he interviews people like Grant Cardone, Dean Graziosi, Dan Millman. Jordan is also the founder and creative director of Trend Up Media, which is a podcast agency that helps businesses grow, profit and influence. And yeah, it was great to talk to Jordan, so let's just get into it. What I really liked about you is that you have the design your life concept and how you kind of make decisions on the three criteria. And I feel like that is such a smart way on making decisions. And I heard from a podcast, I think you don't overthink things. And is it because of the 3 criteria?
Oh, sorry, repeat the question. First off, thank you, Presence. I appreciate you having me. You're very kind.
I think one thing I need to improve on is I'm probably speaking a bit too quick, and that's because I'm nervous. So I just wanted to
I can relate to that. Yeah, that happens to me.
Yeah. So okay, slow down, calm down. Okay. So yeah, because you have your 3 criteria that I guess that you make decisions on, which is having fun, making money, and helping people. Where did that idea come from? How did it when did you kind of set that?
Yeah, don't make a living, design a life. I put it in my Instagram bio when I was a freshman in college. It was actually my first week of college. I was kind of playing around with it, really reinventing myself that first week. And somehow I came upon that. I don't know how. At the time, it just sounded good, but it did paint a little bit of a picture of some of the ideas that I had in mind for my life over the next several years. And eventually I did attach some meaning to it when I stumbled upon David Meltzer. And, his company, Sports One Marketing, is their mission is to help a lot of people have a lot of fun and make a lot of money. And I was like, oh, that's what this whole don't make a living, design a life thing is. That's what this whole design a life thing is. I have been striving to do things that align with those 3 criteria. And now I live by not just because it sounds good, but because it actually works. And I think that a happy founder has an alignment of those 3 criteria, that having fun, helping people, and making money.
So if you had to add one more, what would you add?
I don't think I could add one more. I think that those are so. I mean, what did you have something in mind?
No, that's why I was wondering. It's I feel like it's so just 3 simple things, and they are kind of what you really need, really. So I was just thinking what 4th one could we add, if you had to. But
I can't think of anything.
It's a good one to think about, but I can't actually think of anything either. But it was.
I mean, anyone can do whatever they want with those. Whatever you want to design your life around. That's just me, and I think a lot of people that'll be it for them too. But if you want to insert something else, so be it. If money really just it doesn't matter to you at all, which is just doesn't hold true for most people in the world, then you can replace that with something else. You know what I mean?
I feel like for money, people want money, but we are conditioned to think that money is kind of bad.
It's stupid though. It's like a psychological barrier to acquiring wealth. If you are constantly feeling guilty about making money, then you're not going to make nearly as much money as you could. It's a psychological barrier preventing yourself from acquiring that wealth.
Yeah, for me, I know most of the people around me, when I talk about money, they're like, it's not about money. Money doesn't grow on trees.
And those people are always going to be broke. Maybe not broke, but they're never going to be wealthy.
Did you have any, because growth, I like your podcast name, that it's just so straightforward. Just growth mindset, absolutely no guessing, and it's also it's, I feel like everything, like for me, I feel like success all comes down to mindset. Did you always have a growth mindset, or like was there a shift in your life where you decided?
I'm still not the epitome of like growth mindset. I'm very much. I find myself saying like I can't do it a lot of the time. Like I find myself being a victim a lot of the time, with a fixed mindset that like I can't, like that's what I can't do it is. And so I'm not this perfect picture of a growth mindset. I'm really not. But there's definitely been a shift in the past few years since since I was like a college freshman. Really, the end of high school is kind of what marked the shift from victim to creator for me.
Yeah, because I can relate to your story in terms of being really. I if you asked me 2 months ago, I was probably the person who'd never talk, and I used the reason for one of like because I feel like we have like selfish reasons and other reasons for like doing what we do. And the selfish reason for me of starting the podcast is to push myself to talk more and get out of my comfort zone. But I heard that you had no real reason for like starting the podcast.
Yeah. I didn't. You did do your homework correctly. Yeah, I always say like I have no clue why I started the podcast, and I really don't. I just noticed the icon in the top right of the screen here. It starts with action. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But what was it saying?
How did you I think I remember you started cheerleading or something.
Yeah.
How did you get out of your shell of being really shy? Because after I started my podcast, people have been reaching out to me and saying how they don't know how to get out of their shell. So do you have any tips for them?
No, I had help in the beginning. I hit up the most extroverted person I know and said, "Hey, you want to do this with me?" So I actually had people don't really know this, and I had a co-host for probably 26 episodes. He was only in like maybe 13 or 10, but having that accountability partner in a way really pushed me forward. It didn't necessarily pull me, which is a more healthy form of like motivation where you're like it's like a gravitational pull, like it's just natural for you to do. It wasn't really like that. It was very much a push, something that pushed me, but I did need that in the beginning. Now it's very much a pull, and of course everyone knows I do the podcast by myself.
Yeah, I feel like it's having a supportive network is really it changes a lot. And I think one thing I'm interested in, like how much do you think you've changed as a person since you started because like the people you interview is like Dan Locke, Dean Graziosi, Grant Cardone, like that is like how have you like found yourself like change as a person, surrounding yourself with like these massive people?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, since the start of the podcast, I've changed immensely. Obviously it's the cliche thing to say, but it's been a complete shift. Like I'm not even like it feels like around that time period after that, it seemed like every 3-4 months, like I have like this radical shift and it doesn't happen in a day. It happens like little by little in those 3 to 4 months. And I look back on the things I wrote 4 months ago, or the things I said 4 months ago, or the podcast I did 4 months ago. And I like cringe, it just keeps happening because I just keep getting better and better. But it's been a complete shift since the start of the show. I don't know how or why but it's, I play devil's advocate. I think that part of it is because I went from being 20 to 22 years old. A lot happens in that time frame. So to be fair, I think
that's true.
I think just natural life forces have caused the change as well. It's been a perfect storm for change in a way.
Yeah, especially now. I think if it wasn't for COVID, I would not start. I actually just finished high school, so my exam.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, even though I'm 19, I went to school late. So I just finished high school. Honestly, it's the painful. Like I've been counting down for years, like when school's gonna finish.
Yeah, I did that. I did that in high school and college. I understand.
Yeah, and so it's so cool to kind of see someone who just like kind of relates, I guess, and like when I first like Googled, I think I found you through just like Googling growth mindset, and then I
Oh,
came up
wow.
with like growth mindset university, and I was like, there's a university for growth mindset? Like, what?
That's great.
And then I was, oh, it's a podcast. But it was like, it was super interesting. And yeah, I started like, learning from you. And basically, since starting the podcast, I've been really interested in like, again, like really like say like kind of like, because I haven't been communicating with people for so long, like over a decade. And like,
I feel you.
I've become like, again, like really interested in like communication skills and like asking questions.
Yeah.
And
we come from a very similar background in that sense.
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
just recovering awkward person to recovering awkward person who turns to communication and human behavior learning resources to dig themselves out of the awkward hole.
Yeah, it's so weird how you can switch. Like, I never thought I would be talking to people I don't really know. And so one question I was thinking, you've done so many podcasts, you've been on many podcasts. What's a question that you've never been asked before that you wish you were asked?
That's tough for me to say. I don't have an answer to that one, honestly. It's hard for me to think of on the spot.
That's true. Well, like for you, what makes a good question, you think?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. Yeah, so I mean, yes, part of a good question is something that the guest isn't asked 600,000 times. I mean, you can pitch Grant Cardone like softball questions of his talking points, but what's the point of that? Because he's done 600,000 interviews, and what's the point of having the same interview on your show? So you want to get something different, and the way to do that is I listen to podcasts of the guests in preparation, and I get a feel for, over the course of a couple of podcasts, get a feel for their normal talking points, the ones that they talk about all the time, and I make a point to not talk about those things. And so, and maybe I will find something to talk about that's just a passing comment, and like I just find little things. I really do. I go to their website. Maybe I download their lead magnet, or join their email list. Maybe I, a smaller concept from their book I'll pick out. But really stuff that I'm interested in, because my audience relates a lot to me. Like I'm not a very different person. I'm very much like. As much as I don't want to be, I'm very much like everyone else. And so when I ask questions that relate to me, they relate to the audience. And people have said before, we love your questions because it's stuff that you're going through, and consequent, and thus it's stuff that we're a lot of us are going through too. And so, questions too that are pointed, not. When a question is too general, when it's too broad, it's very hard for the guest, especially with someone who's not a great podcast guest. Like if you were to rate podcast guests from like 1 to 10, like in terms of their guesting ability, like I'm probably a 3, even though I've been interviewed over 70 times. Like I'm just not that good at present on this side of the mic. I'm really not. But if you
Why
were,
do you think so though?
I don't know. A lot of times I say I don't know. Not a lot of the time, but sometimes more often than people like. And I've gotten this feedback before that like I shouldn't do that. But anyway, and I kind of run in circles with the way I talk sometimes. But going back to what I was talking about, the question should be pointed. If it's too broad, a person with a low level of guesting ability just isn't going to know what to do with the question. Like for me, like the questions have to be like specific and pointed. Like I have to know exactly what I'm answering. It can't be too broad. It's hard to explain, but I hope that makes sense. So I think those are the components of a good question.
I did ask 2
original and pointed.
That was good. Yeah, I did ask 2 broad questions, which probably should improve. But and I think like one thing a little bit I struggle with the podcast is like, because the podcast is all about, it starts with action and about taking action. Like taking action is like, it's so simple, but I feel like in the behind the scenes there's like insecurities and fears and perfectionism and failure that's like stopping us from taking action. So like bringing it back to the topic, for you, like what do you think is the main like barrier to you that has stopped you from, taking action on anything in the past, or like now, if there's anything you're wanting to do, but maybe there's something stopping you?
I don't think that there have been too many barriers for me. I have great support. Also, if I didn't have that support, I really don't give a damn. I just don't. I don't do things I don't want to do. I do things I want to do. It's pompous, but I selectively use my energy. Like, I only do things that I want to do. I only engage in conversations that I want to engage in. Like, I really just don't. I really just don't do the whole small talk thing if I don't feel like doing it. But anyway, besides the point.
So is it natural? Like, you've just always been like that?
Yeah, if it's something that I know I should do, I kind of know to do it. Like, I just, maybe I actually probably didn't want to start the podcast. I mean, I did want to start the podcast, but it was uncomfortable is the thing. But I did it anyway. Just might as well. I didn't know what I was doing, but grow as you go, figure it out along the way. That's what I did. Like, the first 60 episodes sucked. So, but I'm glad I did them, because I probably wouldn't have started otherwise.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, you didn't really have a real reason of starting it, but like, I feel like people who did have a reason, like, they probably aren't as like kind of I don't want to, like, they aren't successful as what you're doing now. So like, what made you like decide that actually, I'm gonna go all in on this and even start a podcast agency?
Yeah. You do allude to something interesting there, that people that do have a purpose when they started. I did not have a purpose when I started it. Like, of course, along the way it became learning the lessons we should have learned in school, but didn't, so that we can succeed in the new age of business and life that we find ourselves in today. Because schools are just utterly failing at that. Just absolutely not preparing.
I'm really happy to talk about that topic, but like, I feel like you talked about it so many times on different podcasts. But like, I'm a massive like, it's a rant that everyone on my because like my main audience is like 16 to like 20, so like, we're all like in the school age, education age, and I have like some people who say that school is everything. I was the person who said that school was everything, but like COVID made me realize that school never taught me how to talk, how to communicate.
No, me neither. Here's the thing: if it requires a degree, it will never make you wealthy. It just won't. Like, it's really not. So that's my big take on it. That you're going to be able to make a living, with whatever job you get with the using your degree, but you'll never be able to design a life the way I have. I may not make as much right now. I'm only 22. I make more as an entrepreneur than most 22-year-olds, but I may not make right now, what some 30-year-old in a normal job makes, maybe. But I get close to it, number one, and number two, my lifestyle is way better. Like, I can go anywhere, do anything. I surf. I got up at 6:30 a.m. and surfed and did meditation on the beach, and I'm in at the Jersey Shore right now. I've been there for the past few weeks, and I don't live here, but I can be here. I can go back to Florida tomorrow if I wanted. I mean, maybe not because of the virus, but you get the point. It's a great lifestyle. I don't have to be anywhere. And with, whatever job you get with your degree, that's probably not going to be the case. You're going to probably have to report somewhere at a certain time. And I don't really want, and you're going to have someone above you telling you what to do. And I really just, as a narcissist, I don't really handle people above me telling me what to do very well. So I knew that this is just not going to work for me. After I got out of this restaurant job at 18, I was like, never again. Mainly because recognizing that quality in myself and realizing it wasn't going to work in terms of producing happiness in my life. But yeah, school, I think, if you want to be a doctor, it's just a cliche. Like, I say this stuff like, You really don't need to go to school. And people are like, oh, well, I wouldn't want my doctor to be educated at YouTube. No shit, Sherlock. Like, we get it. We know. Everyone knows that. Well, we're engineers, they constructed that bridge, and they sure weren't educated. Like I get it. I know. But if you want to be those things, you want to be doctor, lawyer, engineer, if you want to be a doctor, you want to go save lives, like that's your purpose, then yeah, go get those grades, go get that A. If you want to be a lawyer, fight for innocent people on death row, then yeah, go get those grades, go get that A. Like, the A is not the end, but it can be a means to an end. If you'd like to be an entrepreneur, on the other hand, I say study less, socialize more, learn how to figure out how to serve customers. Create something, do something, and serve customers, serve people, and spend more time implementing your ideas. That's what I did all throughout college. I spent zero time on work, on BS, busy work, homework, and I spent all my time figuring out how to serve people, how to make money. And by the time I got out of college, I didn't need a job.
So why did you go to college then? Was it more like parents?
Yeah. It was the default thing to do.
Yeah.
It was the expected thing. It's okay.
Having a degree is probably like a backup, I guess. Like,
it's a backup. Yeah. And for most of college, I did kind of need that backup. I'd say now I really just don't need it, but maybe that's me being cocky. But I definitely don't need it as much as I did like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think especially now we're more like I think like, was it Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins? They all they emphasize self-education and stuff.
Yeah,
like you really can learn everything online, I feel like. Yeah,
definitely. And it's interesting. Like, going back to the grades thing, like, I just don't get the whole like, rote memorization, like memorize, cram everything for a test and then forget it a week later. The question of, presence. Someone in every class eventually raises their hand like a week before the test or like a day before the test and says, what do they say, presence? They say, will this be on the test? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? I'll decode it for you. For people that don't know, will this be on the test translates directly to, I don't care about the learning. I'm just here for the piece of paper.
Exactly.
And so it's a weird thing. Like, if you think about, and Seth Godin uses this example, and we were talking about this the other day, where if you wanted to learn baseball, like if you wanted to get people to love baseball and learn about it and become avid fans of baseball, if you personally wanted to know about baseball, like, you would not go to the bookstore and say, oh, do you have that latest gripping textbook about baseball? Like, no, like, nobody does that. You would not memorize the top 50 players by batting average in order. You wouldn't do that. But in school, we do that. It's a little weird to me. Kids hate learning. They really do. Kids hate school, and for the most part. And I just think it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, like, I spent 2 years memorizing, revising stuff, and then my exams, the most important exams that will determine if I go into uni, got cancelled. So that's kind of like, I forgot everything already, and I didn't enjoy it. And it's just all going back to that, will this be on the test question? It's all about that piece of paper. It has nothing to do with coming out with real tangible skills that matter, skills that make you money in this world. It doesn't. College does not prepare you to that. It gives you a piece of paper. It gets you in a couple of doors. Maybe. Are those doors even worth going into? I'd say no, but it does not give you skills. So would you say the most effective way to learn is through not just taking action, but also, I guess, for you, it'd be you learn from like your mentors, I guess, like asking people who are doing what you want to do?
First off, the learning has to be voluntary. The learning that's going on in school is involuntary. As like they're just not into it, and they're there for the piece of paper, not the learning, as we discussed earlier. So first off, it's got to be voluntary, and there's a couple of aspects to it. There's the seeking out the resources from people who ought to know. Like, I'll use communication as an example, like seeking out resources from, say Vanessa Van Edwards and Jordan Harbinger and Robert Greene, and reading up on the works of adjacent subjects like Sapiens, that big book about really the root of humans. And I just learned a lot about humans in there, which was adjacently helpful for me in the world of communication, and just learning all things communication, human behavior, behavioral science, whatever you want to call it. And then what do? You go do it. You go test what you've learned out in the real world. I mean, once you leave the door, go out the front door, I mean, you're forced to really you're forced to communicate. So that for me was in 2018, when I was like learning how to talk, was a really great system. I would literally presence. I was still a cheerleader at the time. It was the tail end of that part of my life. And I would be in the locker room at halftime of a game reading Captivate, The Science of Succeeding with People by Vanessa Van Edwards. And then 10 minutes of halftime over, and I go back out on the court armed with my new knowledge, and I have to test it. And, I'm using like one thing here, one thing there. Like, I'm not using like, I'm not trying to use everything at once, but I'm just trying to pick out a couple things, I remember that. It was cool. It was fun.
What are you learning at the moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I am learning about hiring and everything to do with entrepreneurship, the nuts and bolts of entrepreneurship. Now, here's the thing. Here's the really funny part. I was an entrepreneurship major. I have a degree in entrepreneurship. This just occurred to me. I forgot. I have a degree in entrepreneurship. I know nothing. I have people on my team, but I know nothing about having a repeatable hiring process. I know very little about training systems. The book that you see on the table, can I get out of the way? It's on the bedside table there. I almost just knocked my microphone down. That is a book called Telling Ain't Training, and it's all about adult learning. And I'm learning a lot about adult learning right now. So I'm learning about all things entrepreneurship, topics adjacent to it, like adult learning, because that's and course design and stuff like that, which is also not only going to help me in my business, but I think also constructing some sort of solution to the education system, maybe 40 years down the line. I think what I'm learning is going to help a lot right now.
Have you ever thought of maybe like starting an actual growth mindset university? Yeah,
I know. It's other than a thought, like I just don't know what it would be. I'm not sure. It's like, it's on the table. I got the name, and we'll see what happens. If I do come up with some sort of school in the future, that's what it'll be called for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think, like, for example, impact theory, they have impact theory. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, they do. He does.
But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm way off the time. We have two questions. I don't know. Yeah, the question I ask my guest is normally like, what does their next best version of themselves look like, and how are they going to take action to get there? Yeah,
less me focused. I think a lot of my communication is in the terms of, I probably say I more than a lot of people, even though I try not to, and I'm consciously aware of that. I still, my language is very me focused, and not other person focused. I mean, this context presence is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I think just when I'm with family, when I'm with other people, I think when I'm with other people, I'm the narcissist that I am wants to come off really well, and I do recognize that I need to make it all about them, and I think I do a good job of that a lot of the time. But I think when I'm with family, like I just it's all about me. Like, yeah, and like that's the real me. Like I fear like being, getting 20 years into a marriage and the real me coming out, and it's like this selfish bastard. Like, I don't, I want it. So I need to. So the next version of me needs to be less me focused, and a lot of that is going to have to do with my language.
That's cool. I feel like though, like some people I've met who are like kind of successful, and they're really confident about themselves, which I guess is a good. It's good that you kind of at the moment like focus on yourself in the beginning because you have the confidence and you like can believe in yourself more. Would you say? So yeah, but that's a good goal. Okay, last one is like normally at the end I ask every guest to like give a challenge to listeners to like take action on any challenge that we've had. Play video games and anything. So yeah,
I like it. Yeah. I think this might be it might be too easy, but I think with the virus and everything, like we don't even say hi to people now when we're like passing them. Give it if you have enough distance, even if you're across the sidewalk, literally like say hi, and don't say it like sheepishly. Like I actually did that this morning out in the waves. Or no, I did that yesterday when I was out on the kayak and a surfer was like near me, and I was like, hey. I was like, it was very like sheepish, very, very passive. I was like, you sound very unconfident, Jordan. So say it confidently, say it loud so that they can hear you, and say hi and smile. That's what I'm going to do today. That's
a good reminder, actually. Like I have not said hi to someone on the street for ages. Because it's like every time we pass by, like get away from me.
Yeah, if you're outside, I mean, it's safe enough, We gotta get over it.
Yeah, soon lockdown's gonna be over soon, and everything's gonna be good. And how can people can find you easily through googling Growth Mindset University, Jordan Paris. You're literally everywhere, and your podcasts are actually super amazing and educational.
Thanks.
Really teaching us what school doesn't teach us. So everyone can Google Growth Mindset University, and until next time, guys. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode, and definitely check out Jordan Paris and Growth Mindset University. He has a lot of free courses on his website, and I enrolled in his How to Start a Podcast course, which was super valuable, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who may be interested. And check that out, and until next time, guys.